Hello everyone, and welcome to this presentation about integrating psychotherapy practices and gamified elements in novel game mechanics for stress relief. This presentation is about the work of Stella Zigotegu towards her bachelor's degree in game programming, awarded by SAE Athens. This work has been supported and supervised by Yorgos Anastasakis, Yorgos Tsatiris, and myself, Kostas Karpouzis. I'm going to start this presentation by introducing some definitions that are necessary to present our work in the following. I will start with serious games. Serious games are those games which are designed not with entertainment as their first purpose. That of course doesn't mean that they're not fun and entertaining. It means that their game mechanics and narrative and their win or lose conditions are designed with specific soft or hard skills in mind. Hard skills are those skills that are relevant to someone's line of work or profession, and soft skills are usually related to social skills or to therapy, as is the case with the work I'm currently presenting. The choice and role of the different gameful and gamified elements have usually to do with some sort of behavior change. So we want the players to follow specific patterns during gameplay or during using an application or a serious game in such a manner that will serve some sort of purpose in our work to regulate stress. And to further motivate and reward the players, we're usually, when we detect the specific correct lines of patterns of gameplay or app usage, we are rewarding them with elements such as points or badges which they can display in their profile, or even some points which they can exchange for real goods in real life. However, the latter is not usually the case with serious games related to therapy, because we want our players to focus on the aims and targets in the game design and not relate them to actual tangible rewards. Finally, casual games. Casual games are characterized by their minimal mechanics. That means that they don't involve special combinations or special motor skills. Sometimes they're even called hyper-casual because they only require users to utilize only one mechanic, and this allows them to focus on the target of each level, which is usually correlated to some sort of regulating their behavior. This is also the case with the game that I'm currently presenting. A few words about the effects of stress, which are relevant to gaming and how they can be regulated during gaming. First of all, is the biochemical footprint. When individuals are stressed for a long period of time, we have secretions of different hormones and different substances in their body, such as cortisol, adrenaline, and noradrenaline, which are secreted by the body in order to prepare them for the fight or flight decision. That is, that when posed in front of a danger, usually individuals have to select between fighting for their well-being or for their lives, or flight, which is running away to a safer place. This also results in the muscles being tenser and the brain using more oxygen, and it can have adverse long-term effects. Some of those effects are actually observable by other people close to the person experiencing stress. For instance, the most usual observable effect has to do with faster and shorter breathing, which is necessary in order to lead more oxygen to the brain and to the muscles. The body uses that oxygen in order to, as I said, prepare for either fighting or running away. Sometimes people under severe stress experience neuroticism, so they think that they are constantly in danger and that everyone in their surroundings wants to harm them. And it can also be manifested by repetitive behavior or jittering behavior, such as nail biting. Video games have been used in the past 1 or 2 decades to actually help the users regulate stress. not only through their narrative, but mostly through their game mechanics. Researchers have found that video games can help with increasing coping mechanisms because they're actually a fun and engaging thing that players can engage with, and they're also a distraction from the sad or even life-threatening thoughts. Players can also deal with their fears in the sandbox or safe environment of a game world, and they can experiment with different options and coping mechanisms, mostly in the framework of serious games. So this is actually something that people under extreme stress can use in order to avoid harming themselves, which is sometimes, as psychologists say, a, a choice that they opt to follow in order to move away from bad thoughts and um, emotional agony, so to speak. The context of our game has to do with regulating the social anxiety disorder syndrome. This is a syndrome that tends to lead those affected by it to isolation in order to avoid the anxiety caused to them by social interactions. And sometimes in research you may find the phrase that rich get richer because apparently research has shown that people who are extrovert and easy to be around with are more likely to have more social connections than people who are not. Um, Despite the headlines in some news outlets, online game players actually report establishing good friendships within the game world with other players who engage in the same game. Um, in most research, this has been reported to being more than 3 out of 4, that is 75%, and around 40% of them have met in real life, and even close to one-third of them have been romantically involved. Another important issue, which also has to do with how people choose to cope with stress, has to do with the fact that almost 2 out of 5 players would discuss their problems, would discuss their issues with other game players, while they chose not to discuss them with their real-life friends. So it seems that uh, the concept of gaming brings people together and allows them to open up and discuss the things that make them sad or make them want to harm themselves. This is a chart of the design of the Embrace game, of the Embrace app. As you can see, uh, it consists of 4 different levels, ranging from a very easy and introductory level to a harder one, which has to do with regulating one's rhythm of breathing, which is also, as I mentioned earlier, related to stress, because people under extreme stress tend to breathe very quickly, and this is used to lead more oxygen to their brain, but it also results to increasing their heartbeat and make them more tense and more anxious as well. So we have 4 different exercises, so to speak, that players have to go through, and they have to, in all those exercises, move actually a ball through a level, ranging from an easy level to a harder level as they progress in order to, as I said, regulate their breathing patterns. So stress control in the Embrace app is achieved by controlling a virtual ball. I will show a few screenshots in the following slides. We start from one end of the level of the mobile phone screen, and players have to guide that ball across a maze, and in subsequent levels they have to guide the ball across a maze with different obstacles, which if they hit those obstacles they have to restart that particular level. So the design of those levels had to do with practices used by experts, and they were actually contributed to the design of this work by actual psychologists that Stella interviewed in the beginning of the design phase of her work. So the first person is to isolate the player from the outside stimuli so that they're focused in actually controlling the ball. And increasing the feeling of being in control in terms of moving the ball. So players feel that they're in control of their situation because the effects that take place in the game actually are a result of only their own choices and actions. And then they are actually forced to reason with different options in mind, where to go, where to stay within the maze. Maybe sometimes they opt to retreat if they want the danger, so to speak, to go away. And this is actually also a very useful process suggested by psychologists because actually this process helps people under severe stress to regulate their thoughts, which again may lead in a positive manner. It may lead to them regulating also their observable manifestations of stress, as I said, faster breathing or increased heart rate. And then in the final level, they will have to deal with their emotions um, during the whole moving the ball around activity. So this is the introductory phase, the introductory level of the Embrace app, of the Embrace game. As I said, it has to do with earthing, so to speak, the users with isolating them from the external stimuli. And then the more advanced level actually involve some sort of planning or some sort of waiting. The words in the right-hand screenshot are actually the obstacles that players need to avoid, and they move around. And as I said, if the ball hits one of the obstacles, players have to start from the beginning again. So thank you for watching this video about the design and implementation of a psychotherapy app using gamified elements. The work done by Stella Zygotegu and supervised and assisted by George Anastasakis, Yorgos Tsatiris, and myself, Kostas Karpouzis. Thank you.